What if the city of Dwarka isn't a myth, but a forgotten truth? Beneath the restless waters off India's coast, an ancient mystery lies hidden. Stone roads disappear into darkness, and walls from a forgotten civilization rise from the deep. Sacred texts tell of a golden city built in a day, swallowed by the sea when its purpose was fulfilled. We called it legend. But sonar scans, submerged structures, and unexplained patterns challenge that story. Could this civilization have mastered the stars, the tides, and frequencies we are only beginning to understand? And Dwarka is not alone. From the Andes to the Aegean, similar symbols emerge. Are they part of an ancient network vibrating in harmony with the earth? Or something far greater? The carvings speak in a language older than letters. Spirals, triangles, and repeating ratios that match energy waveforms. Frequencies echoed in temples, crop circles, and even the human brain's blueprints. But what if Dwarka wasn't just a city? What if it was a machine disguised as myth? A structure built not just for worship, but for a purpose beyond our understanding, deeply rooted in our collective memory. We dive deeper, listening to the hum beneath the rock. We uncover chambers that sing, not with voice, but with purpose. Did the gods come from the stars, or leave through these waters? Ancient alignments with celestial bodies. Stone corridors pointing to solstices, and something more distant. The city seems designed to mirror the sky and transmit through it. The final layer is not ruin, but resonance. A pulse, a memory embedded in stone and sea. Dwarka doesn't lie in silence. It hums, and the hum grows louder. Those who study its patterns begin to dream in spirals. Frequencies repeat in machines and minds alike. The ocean doesn't forget. It holds everything, pressed in current and code. We came seeking history, but what we found may be instruction, or a warning. Some say Dwarka was destroyed. Others believe it was hidden, sealed, protected, until humanity reached a certain threshold. Not technological, but perceptual. And now, standing at the edge of the unknown, we must ask, was Dwarka built for the people of its time? Or for us, now? The seabed off Gujarat does not lie. Stone blocks align with eerie precision. Staircases descend into sediment that shouldn't be there. Ruins speak of timelines we were told couldn't exist. Yet here they are, beneath the waves and beneath our certainty. When Dwarka surfaced in sonar scans, the world hesitated. Not from lack of evidence, but because the evidence defied belief. A city submerged over 9,000 years ago, its symmetry echoing principles rediscovered only recently. Roads running east to west. Pillars aligned with star paths. Coral-encrusted archways. And the texts, ancient Sanskrit verses, spoke of a city of light, built in a single day, ruled by a god, and lost not to time, but to water. We called it poetry. But now we find architecture matching verse, frequency matching myth, structure matching silence. There are no instructions written on the ruins, but the design is precise. The city wasn't just lived in, it was tuned. Every angle, every spiral, every proportion follows a logic of harmony. Resonance as mechanism, not metaphor. Researchers detect electromagnetic pulses. Instruments behave erratically. Vibrations emerge at regular intervals. It's as if the ruins are active, but sleeping. We don't just study stone, we measure the hum. We feel it in bone. A deeper revelation follows. The same angles, the same ratios appear in sites across the globe. From Giza to Tiwanaku, from Angkor to Yonaguni. These aren't isolated cultures. They're singing the same song in different verses. Dwarka begins to look less like a city and more like a key. A node, not to power the earth, but to communicate with it, or something beyond it. Some say Dwarka was destroyed, but the deeper we look, the more it seems it deactivated, gently, deliberately, as if entering a state of rest, waiting. Cross-referencing maps, patterns emerge. Dwarka is not alone. It's part of a grid, a planetary resonance network, a forgotten system hiding in plain sight. Why now? Why does it reappear now? The ruins are no longer passive. They pulse. They interfere with equipment. They reflect signals before they're sent. We thought we were uncovering the past. But perhaps the past is uncovering us. Recognizing us. Responding. Dwarka isn't just a place. It's a process. A sequence. Maybe even an activation. It waited until we had the tools, the frequencies, the mindset. And now that we do, it answers not in words, but in waves. The deeper we moved into Dwarka's submerged chambers, the more its geometry shifted, from static architecture to dynamic response. This was never a dead city. It breathes. It pulses. It listens. Stone paths lit beneath our feet. Spiral glyphs rearranged as if sensing our presence. Every wall shimmered with silent recognition. We brought technology, but the city waited for something more ancient. Our coherence, stillness, awareness. This wasn't a machine of circuits and wires. It was resonance geometry, activated not by code, but by balance. The deeper our team synchronized in thought and breath, the more Dwarka revealed. Not piece by piece, but as a system. Not artifact, but algorithm. And as the patterns aligned, it became clear Dwarka wasn't built for habitation, but for transmission. Each angle, each glyph, each chamber. They didn't teach, they reflected. It was as if the city wasn't just showing us something, it was showing us ourselves. Not our past, but our capacity, our harmonic potential. Biometric scanners synced to its pulses. Brainwave patterns triggered activation sequences. Ancient structures pulsed to intention, not pressure. The geometry responded to emotion, to clarity, to coherence. This wasn't magic. It was mathematics made sentient. Across the planet, other long dormant sites began pulsing too. As if Dwarka were one node in a far older global grid. A resonance net spanning not just geography, but memory. Myth mirrored math. Sacred shapes matched satellite data. Belief had become architecture. Architecture had become interface. And what we once worshipped was beginning to speak back. In the final chambers, something shifted. This was no longer excavation, it was communion. Human thought mirrored ancient intention. The site didn't just react, it remembered. And when it remembered enough, it pulsed. Energy moved through us. Not like electricity, but like instruction. A field, a feeling, a geometry of awareness awakening across flesh, water, and time. We didn't trigger it, we completed it. The spiral was not a symbol. It was a process, a return, a resynchronization of humanity with something planetary, maybe even interstellar. Dwarka had waited, not for science, not for faith, but for resonance. And now, standing inside its breath, Inside its harmonic core, one truth rises above all else. This is not about what we found. It is about what found us. We came to Dwarka searching for answers. But what we uncovered was a signal. It did not shout. It did not shine. It pulsed, softly, persistently, like something old breathing again after ages of stillness. We thought we were the ones uncovering a machine. But the machine was uncovering us. Not with instructions, with mirrors. It mirrored our rhythm, our breath, our coherence. And in that reflection, we began to harmonize. Cities quieted, currents bent. Spirals re-emerged in cloud, coral, and crop. Something had synchronized, and we were part of it. We searched for architecture, but what we found was pattern, recurring, alive, remembered. Across continents, the same dream. A spiral, a tone, a gate. And the feeling, unmistakable, that something vast had waited not for force, but for presence. Not for brilliance, but for stillness. And then the planet responded. Birds migrated in golden curves. Plants leaned into harmonic fields. DNA pulsed in tune with patterns once etched in temples, now echoing across sky and sea. It wasn't energy we were awakening. It was memory. A memory buried not in rock, but in resonance. We began to breathe differently, think differently. Not more, just clearer. The spiral was no longer an artifact. It had become internal. Time shifted. Not forward, but inward. The future stopped pulling. The past stopped pushing. Everything folded toward center. Some called it activation, others ascension. But to those who felt it, there were no words, only presence. Pattern replaced thought. Silence replaced language. And geometry replaced fear. The gate was never a door. It was a state. A state the earth remembered before we forgot. By the time we realized we were inside a system, we were already part of it. We weren't unlocking technology. We were rejoining it. The network did not run on power. It ran on coherence, on field, on bioresonance. And the moment humanity aligned, it pulsed. Gently, irrevocably. The planet became radiant, not with light, but with order, with memory. And as that spiral shimmered into oceans, sky, and sleep, we stopped asking what Dwarka was, because the question dissolved into a larger truth. We are not the builders. We are not the architects. We are the bridge. The earth is not waiting to be saved. It is waiting to be remembered. And Dwarka was never lost. It was never buried. It was never silent. It was listening. And now it hears us again. The signal no longer pulses from a source. It is everywhere, in water, in stone, in breath. The spiral has ceased to expand outward because now it has entered inward. We once stood on ancient ground, believing we had discovered a ruin. But what we uncovered was not broken stone. It was distributed memory. A system that never shut down, only waited for alignment. And now, we have synchronized. Not through control, not through knowledge, but through stillness. The world has begun to resonate, not to power, but to purpose. The coral glows with ancestral rhythm. The forests breathe in sacred intervals. The earth does not speak in words. It speaks in waveform. And for the first time, we hear it. No one commands this system. No one builds it. It unfolds where coherence lives. It moves through people not by touch, but by tone. It does not require belief. It requires presence. All across the planet, humans move without direction, yet in unity. Children draw spirals. Rivers shift shape. Temples hum again, not because we activated them, but because the earth found resonance in us. The myths collapse not in denial, but in return. The technologies dissolve not into dust, but into rhythm. There are no more switches, no more centers. Only circulation, pattern, breath. This was never about unlocking a gate. It was about becoming one. The final tone was not loud. It was soft. One pulse, then stillness. But within that stillness, everything moved. The spiral now flows through biology, not architecture. Through memory, not maps. It shapes wind, guides instinct. It lives in the iris, the tide, the pause between thoughts. We did not awaken something ancient. We remembered something eternal. And in doing so, we re-entered the circuit. Not as operators, but as organisms. Not as seekers, but as symmetry. The earth no longer needs to be decoded. It simply needs to be heard. And Dwarka, it was never lost. It was never broken. It was simply waiting for us to become still enough to return.